just for anyone who's in the chat right now, I'm going and I'm trying to get Cardboard Live set up to put 2 deck lists on screen, which I've never done before. So I'm doing a little bit of troubleshooting right now while I get that up. Yes, we are indeed live. Anuraag doesn't know how to do it either. All right, folks, I'm going to call that good enough. Sorry for the delay here. So I got everything set up to work with one deck list. I know more or less how to do 2, but it's gonna take a few more minutes for me to get that going that I'd like. So hello everyone, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy death and taxes. Today we're going to specifically play some matches of D&T versus Miracles. So I've decided to play a list that's very heavy on planes, removing all of the other flex lands, try out a few Brightlings, and then most of the other same stuff that I've been trying out. Anuraag is going to be playing a list with that I care about: 4 Swords of Plowshares, 2 Council Judgment, 3 Terminus, 2 Mission Briefing to flash them back instead of the normal like bunch of Snapcaster Mages. There's Snapcaster Mage here as well. 1 Entreat, Jace, 1 Mentor as win conditions. Sideboard, relatively stockish stuff, a couple of Mentors that are probably going to come in. Let's just kind of jump into some matches. This is meant to like go and be a sort of a showcase of how to play this match at a higher level. Again, thank you for your support. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Anuraag and I have talked about doing this for quite some time, so I am excited to do it. So, chat, if you would like to watch both sides of the match, the other side is available. Anzi104 is the handle there. So you are welcome to have both sides of the matchup up. What I ask, though, is that if you are going to watch both sides of the match, please only, we're here to play this match at a high level. Don't ruin it by telling us things about the other person's hands. We're familiar with deck lists, not hands. So I have his deck list, he has mine. We know what's going on. Sorry, this is getting just started a couple minutes later than we originally intended. To just talk about our hand is bonkers for the matchup. Like, we have an Ether Vial start and the Ether Vial resolved. We have a Thalia plus Port as a follow-up play. Like, this is gravy. Like, Recruiter of the Guard to chain some value in the mid game. This sword is awesome if we get an opportunity to stick it. If I would have drawn a land, I might have considered not jamming Thalia. But my opponent didn't have force last turn for my Vial, so I don't think they probably have force now. It will make the sword slightly harder to get into play, but I already have Stoneforge Mystic to tackle that problem. While Anuraag's thinking about whatever, figuring out which one of these sweet blue cantrips to cast for 2 mana. What's been going on in my life? Not too much. Car's in the shop. It got bumped. Needs some paint touched up. Got some sort of Kia as a rental. Don't really like it. Feel like there's a bunch of weird blind spots in places that I'm not really used to. I can't turn over my shoulder like that in order to get a good look behind me. So Anuraag does not have like literal counterspell mana open right now. So I could force a will, or I could just cast this Recruiter of the Guard and do something annoying with it. And I think I'm on board with that. I kind of think my Thalia is going to eat it this turn. And if I play out a Recruiter of the Guard now, I can allow myself the best Flicker Wisp lines on the following turn. With the texture of this game the way it is, I'm likely to very much be the aggressor. And I think I'm just going to get the Sanctum Prelate here. If I don't get Terminus, throwing that on 6 is going to feel pretty great. I'll have real tough decisions to make if I hit a land, which I do. So by leaving this Caracas up, I can protect my Thalia. Unfortunately, I don't have, Thalia plus Vial shenanigans. I don't want to go all in on, an equip attack line. I think I'll go ahead and play this out. Attack with these two. Which I assume prompts no action. And now I'm in a great, great spot. And it makes me so happy when I hear that other people from around the world are actually, like, getting a chance to watch me. I hope you're both enjoying this. Yeah, Anuraag is one of the better Miracles players. Just like period, end of sentence. So getting to like go and jam some games against him is super helpful for everyone involved. I don't know what I expected out of you, but that sounds about right. So there's an accumulated knowledge. I could use this opportunity to just like put Sanctum Prelate into play, put it on 6. But I don't think I'm going to. I think my plan is to just save Sanctum Prelate for if everything else kind of goes wrong. This is a game I think I'm pretty likely to win. Things can happen, but I feel good about my chances as of right now. Yeah, Anuraag stream is great. Really, really high quality stuff. No shuffle there. So now I'm going to activate the vial. I'm doing this in my second main phase, which indicates that it's not going to be the Sanctum Prelate coming down. We'll use Recruiter to get another Flicker Wisp, so to maximize our trickiness here. Activate Stoneforge. I'll put in a Batterskull. So unless I draw a land, I actually don't really want to go and like hold up mana to protect Thalia next turn. So now I'm going to tap down that Plains. And this probably gets like a Source of Plowshares on Thalia in response if my opponent has one, which I am totally fine with. Because I'm about to like really run train on Anuraag's life total. Say always no to that. Alright, so I drew the Plains, which is a slight punish, but that's okay. So, don't really know how he's supposed to win from here. This is sort of interesting, because I could respond to this by vialing in Sanctum Prelate on 1, but if I do so and my opponent draws Terminus, it's like super daggers. So I think I just go like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so Swords to Plowshares, not surprising. Alright, so there is the mission briefing. So if I vial in Sanctum Prelate and put it on 6, in response, Anuraag just, like, Swords to Plowshares that creature. So I can just let this happen, let him cast it, then vial in Sanctum Prelate and put it on 1. And, like, have a hard lock. Like, the game, I believe, is just literally over. So I just let him cast this. It's not that big of a deal. Like, yes, I lose 4 creatures, but then he's dead on board. Alright, so I need to set a stop on his draw step now. So once I equip this, it has protection from Snapcaster Mage, which could be like the only thing that my opponent could do to muck with me. Alright, so I like Chalice, Ballista, Cataclysm, Jailer, Council's Judgment. I probably don't like Moms and Swords to Plowshares. Wispaline is viable, but if my opponent has another white land and another Swords to Plowshares, it's just strictly worse. So, like the Chalice, Palace Jailer, Cataclysm, Council Judgment, all that stuff, that's easy. Walking Ballista is kind of medium. It's something that can potentially clean up a Jace, which I like. But it's not like amazing, it's just fine. Like Mirran Crusader and Walking Ballista are both kind of medium here. I could also just trim down to 23 lands pretty safely. Just so you can see what Anuraag's working with. He's going to have like Terminus, O-Ring, Mentors to bring in, and Disenchants. I guess Revoker is also kind of medium. I like Walking Ballista in the deck as Reach. Yeah, Jitte is kind of medium, but the game goes so long that just like having all 3 pieces of equipment in the deck is probably fine. I haven't actually played with this exact 75 before. I just kind of like threw it together in the couple of minutes before the stream because I wanted to like test Brightling again because I think the card might be on the upswing. Actually, let's cut a Wasteland. No, Moms are fine in the matchup, but I'm bringing in Chalice of the Void, which makes my 1-drops worse. I do think that, like, more generally, Mom is not amazing versus Miracles. Like, they're a Terminus deck, and Mom just sits on the board and doesn't actively contribute to winning most of the time. So, a lot of times, like, Mom is a card that just sets you up for a 2-for-1 or greater. Uh, if my opponent kept their 7, I probably would have pitched this hand. Or at least I would have thought harder about it. This is not a great hand. Like, it has Aether Vial, which is, like, far and away the best card in the matchup, but I don't have any early creatures, and Flicker Wisp is not the first creature you want to be playing out. I don't love Surgical versus Miracles. Like, there are crazy blowout scenarios where it's just absolutely stellar. But I've never felt like the card was insane in the matchup. I like it better if you're like a discard deck. I think it's much more justifiable. All right. So we now have like the best card for the early game and the best card for the late game in hand. All right, this hand is turning around quickly. So I'm not in danger of like getting something Swords to Plowshare yet. Probably not even on my next turn. So just like tapping down the blue to prevent like main phase ponders or like brainstorm with fetch is just better than anything else. So prior to playing my land, I think I'm gonna cast Chalice. Like I know my opponent isn't playing Daze, and I can't play around like a Spell Pierce or anything anyway. But if for some reason he goes and fetches up like a Tundra, I leave myself with the opportunity to Wasteland that. Man, do I know how to call him or what? We don't even need to start thinking about Cataclysm yet. We're very far off from that. Well, that's an insane draw. Honestly, maybe I should not cast it, because if I just cast it, my opponent has Swords to Plowshares, which is somewhat likely. It's not great for me. Actually, it's fine because I have the Flicker Wisp. And the Chalice. You remember that thing I talk about where, like, when you bounce back and forth between, like, the stream and the screen, you're not always paying full attention to either? Boy, this feels good. We're going to get very aggressive with the mana denial here. We had a wealth of riches that game. All right, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, and then let's do the next one. We just won the first match in short order. We had very good draws both games. They were not real games. So for anyone who has tuned in since I started, hello, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. Today we are playing some exhibition matches versus Anuraag DOS on Miracles. So our hand is very medium. We have Aether Vial, best card in the matchup. That's sweet. However, we don't have any creatures to go with this Vial, which is awkward. However, like, I do have a Rishadan port to sort of, like, slow down the game and stop my opponent's early development, and I do just have an Umezawa's Jitte that I can run out. Which I may or may not do. That's currently unclear. So porting my opponent doesn't do very much good this turn. I can just play out Thalia and tax my opponent, or I can run out my Jitte. I can essentially cast Thalia for free next turn off my Aether Vial and make it so it can't get forced. So I think I'm going to lead on the Jitte here. It's a little weird, but I have no other creatures and no guarantee that I'll get one. The Jitte is not overly threatening in this matchup. Yeah, I would have still kept this hand if it was Plains over Port. It would have been closer, though. I think I'm going to force a fetch now. And then draw step, I'm going to put in Thalia. So I was thinking about potential number of white sources per turn. Draw step Thalia plays around Terminus off the top, which I did not want. So my thought was Flooded Strand is going to get a Plains at some point in this game, at least with board as is. And so if I go and attack the Scalding Tarn, it probably makes my opponent get Island or get Wasteland. Sort of the unfortunate thing about this is if my opponent has Snapcaster Mage or Mission Briefing or another Swords to Plowshares, this play doesn't accomplish anything. But we lucked out. We may see Aggro Mom this game. I don't know what noise just came from my living room, but it was a special noise. So I've started two things. I started, I think it's called Legend of the Shield Hero, which is about 4 heroes getting summoned from other worlds, and they've each got sweet weapons except for the shield hero, who has, like, a shield, and everyone's like, oh, you're a shield hero, you can't do shit. And then everything goes terribly wrong for the shield hero. I don't want to say any more than that, because the first episode is a real roller coaster. And it looks like it's going to be a relatively good Otherworld show. Isekai for the Japanese term for that. And then the other thing I'm watching is called Love is War, which is about a elite high school where the vice president and president are in love with each other, but refuse to admit it to each other because it would be seen as a sign of weakness. So instead, they're going about increasingly more elaborate plans to try to get the other person to confess their love. It's pretty hilarious. Sort of an airheaded secretary with a heart of gold goes and mucks up everything as well. Sort of the wild card in the scenario. Those are the only two things I've started watching. I want to watch Boogie Pop Phantom, the new version of it, but before I'm comfortable doing that, I really want to rewatch the original. The second one, the English, is Love is War. All right. Is Anuraag playing Swords to Plowshare? Or not Swords to Plowshare, Spell Pierce. One Spell Pierce. And he has Brainstorm, so if he had that, he likely would have thrown it away. I don't love, like, Jitte attack with Mom. Like, so many cards just blow me out. Let's try to get the Batterskull into play and use that as an aggression outlet. Boo! Yeah, it's fine. Like, I don't regret taking the line. This is a game I am now very unlikely to win. We had a hand that we kept on the strength of Ether Vial, and then we haven't drawn into creatures. Like, there's things that can turn this hand around. Like, for example, drawing a Recruiter of the Guard would be fantastic. Drawing another Stoneforge Mystic would be fine. But, like, now Anuraag is going to have, like, 5 cards in hand, or, like, 4 cards in hand plus 5 lands to my 1 dead card and relatively weak board. I don't regret the keep. I did admit that it was, like, weak and that it could potentially, like, go wrong. But I have a very high opinion of Vial in this matchup. Yeah, like, I learned basically nothing from that first match I played, right? Like, it was me having God hands against Anuraag. Like, that's not the situations where you really go and get to, like, see the maximum potential of, like, the pilots in the decks. This is interesting. So there's targeting Swords to Plowshares there, which means he has another white source. Or is hoping to draw another white source. See you later, Agate. Alright, so Mom goes the way of the dodo. I get to wasteland that Tundra and then continue to port my opponent off of white. We're going to continue to leave this at 2 until we have a reason to take it up. That would fall into that category. Strong degree of respect for the second Ether Vial there. Because if both get into play, then all my 2s and 3s for the rest of the game are uncounterable. I'm just going to fire off this Swords to Plowshares on the Snapcaster Mage. I know that's not a stellar play, but I know Anuraag only has 1 Mentor in the main deck, and this is a game 1. And I'm going to be porting him off of white for the foreseeable future, so I think this is fine. I would much rather have him in the, like, 0 pressure situations. Alright. So next turn, I will probably tick my Vial up to 3 to put in the Flicker Wisp. Let's tap something else in response. Does it really feel good against accumulated knowledge, though, when you, like, throw away a body and they still get to replace their card? Alright, that was a shuffle. So I'll take that up to 3. Plane's not a great draw, so how do I want to do this? I think I'll upkeep Porta Plains and an island. His second main, blink my own Ether Vial and reset it. And I'll hold the plains for some degree of ambiguity. I could also just, like, blank out an island for the entire turn, but then that would, like, expose my Flicker Wisp to a removal spell. Which is not a situation where I really want to be right now. Oh yeah, I'm not saying there's, like, no situations where, like, the Remorseful Cleric is going to be good, because there certainly are. Just to talk about this, if I had played out the plains, I could also, like, during his turn, Flicker Wisp, my Rishadan poured out, and then use 2 mana to, like, tap down a, like, floating island or something. Now I think I'll leave the Vial at 3. Nah. I'll reset my Vial. The flexibility is great. Like, I could Flicker Wisp out the plains on the other side of the battlefield to, like, try and ensure that I can connect with, like, Agite this turn. But I'm not even that worried about that. So I'm going to be vialing that in. So I could use 2 mana to tap down the plains, but that would be the same as just going for the equip anyway. Now I'll play out of plains. Now that I have the real threat of a creature. Jace would be very bad here. And it looks like this is going to be Jace with Swords to Plowshares backup. Just kind of guessing based on the way this has been tapped. Or at least the representation of it. Alright, so I can cast a Thalia, make my opponent answer the Thalia, then vial in a second Thalia at end step. I don't hate this. So this is going to be kind of an interesting spot right here because I'm not going to port my opponent intentionally. Buh! Super punished! So I was about to say, the reason for this being that I want my opponent to go and tap mana to answer Thalia, then I'll tap down something that remains to make the second Thalia more likely to get around the table. No regrets on not porting. I think the decision is correct. There's one Entreat the Angels. Can't like super play around that all the time. Can't always live in fear. Alright, so that targets me. I'll try to tap down this Scalding Tarn. I assume this will be a fetch for a Tundra. Nope, another island. Okay, so now a lot of my best lines involve me drawing a 3-drop. So let's tick that up. No bueno. So a triple block here would guarantee take the Thalia off the table, even around Swords to Plowshares. So due to how this is going to play out, I'm going to get slightly punished for ticking up the vial. If I didn't tick up the vial, I'd be able to like vial in another Thalia instead of having to cast it and telegraph my lines a bit more. Alright. One scary boy down. 2 remain. A removal spell, and I'm probably just dead. I'm just gonna go ahead and concede that there. That's plenty. Like Jace plus Mentor plus 2 Angels. Like we're donezo. All right. So what do we do before? These cards. Mom Swords to Plowshares out, and then I cut 1 Wasteland. Let me look and see what the Jace did. Let's see. No, the top card was unknown because my opponent bottomed. Chalices are great. I love Chalice. It's a card that overlaps between like control decks like Miracles and Grixis Control, as well as the combo decks like Tess and Ant. The Chalices have been stellar for me. They make a few matchups awkward, like for example, Black-Red Reanimator. The sorts of matchups where you want both like your 1-drop removal and Chalice. Those ones can be a little bit rough. But otherwise, it's largely a net positive. We've got a really solid plan for miracles, by the way. This sideboard is not atypical of D&T right now. Pretty common right now is 2/2/3 chalices, and we're on the heavier end of that. And having like another jailer and 2 4-drop removal, not removal, 4-drop haymaker cards in the board is pretty common right now. Maybe over the past year, what this card has flip-flopped a lot. Like there's Gideon and Cataclysm that compete most heavily for the slots. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But right now, I think Cataclysm is better. There's a decent amount of Eldrazi Post running around, as well as like miracles. Weisenberg, I think Grix's control is at least on a slight decline. That's kind of the impression I have right now. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Oh boy. So it might be an okay time to play Brightling. I'm going to be trying them out again. $23 out of 53 to hit the second land. It doesn't even have to be a white land to make this hand great. Because like Vial into Chalice of the Void is like the best possible opening sequence versus miracles. Yeah, 6% is down from what it was in the past. I would mulligan this in a paper tournament that the event mattered a lot. Like if this was a Grand Prix, I would mulligan this hand. But on Magic Online, like if we're just assuming that I was playing in a league or something like that, I'm fine keeping this hand. But if there was a lot on the line, I would probably ship this one for something that would let me leverage my play skill more. It's very close. But we're a fucking master, so it doesn't matter. And note, I do lead on Chalice over Thalia because I can just Vial in Thalia next turn. Yeah, Anuraag has only like 6 cards to board in, so I assume like the maybe most of the forces in the Spell Pierce have come out, and then some trims elsewhere. So I'm just trying to play around the easy, like, Swords to Plowshares situations here. Which I guess I don't really need to do. I have this Chalice of the Void. Sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth. Ignore that. I will aggressively take that up. I'm not going to Flickerous Battle land. I do think I forgot to play my Wasteland for turn, though. Gonna see a Containment Priest. Nope. And I think I'll just reset my Ether Vial. Put myself into the situation where I can like put a new Thalia in it if my current stuff gets removed. So if I cast a Stoneforge, my opponent could just counter it, and I'd be putting myself into a situation where like a Terminus is just all the more backbreaking. So it might be correct to just like not play out another card. But I've still got Thalia and Sword of Fire and Ice as backup. So I am okay just like getting a card I don't want to draw out of my deck. The only downside of doing this play is it kind of telegraphs that like Sword of Fire and Ice is in my hand for sure, and that Batterskull probably is as well, because Jitte is the worst piece of equipment in the matchup. All right. So Council's Judgment probably has to go and get the Chalice of the Void off the table. Yep. Not unsurprising. All right, we didn't draw land, but I did draw Recruiter, which is a pretty sweet draw. So I could cast Recruiter and put in a 2-drop, but I don't really think there's any 2-drop I really want right now. So I'll probably just save that for another turn and then just like Stoneforge in a piece of equipment and hit for 5 here. Is Anuraag playing Click? I don't think so. No, no Click. So I don't need to play around that. So I can just pass the turn here and then put in either Batterskull or Sword of Fire and Ice. Source the Plowshares on Thalia say. All right, cool trick, chat. So in response to this, I activate my Vial and put in a new Thalia, and then there will be literal 0 opportunity where Anuraag can cast something for just a single mana. I miss out on 2 life, but the damage, the like tempo damage that is done by this play is just going to be absolutely huge. We are now presenting lethal with Batterskull and Flickerwisp alone, even if like Thalia gets removed. I will probably put in Batterskull this turn just to like get another body into play. Okay. Disenchant happens. I guess he just has to like play towards me not having a piece of equipment, or maybe he's just given up on life already. I'm glad to hear that. So tomorrow, probably over my lunch, I'm gonna like watch the other sides of the matchup, and I'm really going to enjoy that. Like, Anuraag is both a pretty great player and someone who's decent at like talking through and explaining lines. So, like, it's going to be a treat for me to like go and watch the other side of this matchup. This hand is great. I'm very good at drawing Ether Vial. It's one of the reasons why I'm one of the best D&T pilots. Really, though, we've been super lucky to have all of these Vial starts. We are on the happy side of variance right now. Well, we're talking about being on the happy side of variance. I'm also very happy that Anuraag is not playing back to basics. That card's very good against D&T. You wouldn't necessarily think so. Woo! Alright. So much for playing Fair Magic, though. Like, we would have had, like, the best opening sequence again. Man, I might get to snipe this Field of Ruin with my Wasteland. I'm not sure. Like, I really need lands for what I'm doing these games. But if this land is being run out early, that might be an indication that he doesn't actually have as much mana as he needs. Whew! That might be a decision made purely with respect to Wasteland. Okay, so this is sort of a cool turn. I have the Sanctum Prelate, which I can just, like, put on 6 and stop Terminus, effectively removing all removal that is in the deck. Or I can put it on, like, 2 to stop Disenchant or 3 to stop Council's Judgment. The sort of awkward thing is that if I just run this out there, though, I can't actually attack with it at all in fear and respect of Snapcaster Mage. So I don't actually think I want to do this yet. I think I just want to start my Recruiter value train. I'm just going to kind of just want a Recruiter for Recruiter, honestly. I think my best lines are Recruiter for Recruiter, Recruiter for Jailer, or Recruiter for Stoneforge. Like, Thalia is fine as well, if I kind of expect my opponent is Landlight. I'm probably going to win this game by casting a Cataclysm and keeping a Chalice. So what supplements that best as, like, a follow-up play? Probably Thalia. But, like, a play like Stoneforge would give me the pressure that I need. I'm going to get Thalia. Yeah, the Jailer emblem would be awesome to keep. It's just a little rough if I don't draw the land for a little while. If I draw a land for a turn, I will snap this Cataclysm off so fast. So fast. If I don't draw a land, I've got some thinking to do. So I think good plays include Thalia plus Wasteland or Sanctum Prelate on 1. My opponent really hasn't had a chance to cast a bunch of 1-drops yet, so casting the Prelate might just like continue to strand them in hand, which is something I'd really like to do. However, like Thalia plus Wasteland is backbreaking. If I lose this land, though, I'm just further away from casting a Cataclysm. And I love the idea of casting a Cataclysm when this is on 1. Dang it, Anuraag. It's too strong of a wizard. Uh-oh. So we're now in the position where if I Cataclysm, it is probably not favorable for me. Which is very unfortunate, because my opponent will just like keep an island and then like cantrip into Oblivion. So what am I now playing towards? I can play Crusader, hope to draw a land to play Batterskull, put Batterskull on Crusader, then Cataclysm keeping Batterskull Crusader. That will beat Mentor. I can also just like Wasteland and play Thalia and hope to mitigate the damage done by Mentor. But if there's a Swords to Plowshares on the other side of the table, which I feel like is likely, I don't actually accomplish a bunch. So I don't think I can Wasteland. If there's a Swords to Plowshares there, the whole Mirren Crusader just eating it to that doesn't feel good either. Alright. I'm going to play out Mirren Crusader and then pass the turn. If I draw another 2-drop, I can play like both 2-drop and Thalia, but the same won't be true of Mirren Crusader. I think I'm going to cast a Cataclysm. I'm going to cast this with the expectation that this does not resolve. This is not what I was expecting to happen. So I think what Anuraag is going to do is just like keep 1 land in Mentor and then cast a whole bunch of spells. This was supposed to be the bait Cataclysm. Oh, enjoy. That deck was really fun to play. Don't know how well tuned it was, but it was fun. So I'm not sure what Anuraag's thinking about. So this can be like mission briefing, hope to hit something, otherwise just swords to plowshares, and monk. No, that doesn't get anywhere. Maybe the decision was like, that was giving him trouble was, do I keep island or plains? Like, do I keep the ability to cantrip, or do I keep the ability to remove creatures? Really hoping to just see this mana empty. Alright. So, if I draw a land and then play Thalia, I don't actually think I'm in that bad of shape. Ooh, that island is rough for me, though. Call. That's fine. This is a bad brainstorm, and then I have like another Thalia anyway, and nothing else to do. So like I'm okay with doing this. I wouldn't do it a second time in all likelihood, unless I draw another Thalia. But I think that's an attack you make regardless of whether or not you have the spell. So I'm playing the Stoneforge here over the Thalia because it's my hope that I get to dump in this Batterskull and race the Mentor effectively. Because I just need to stabilize. The second Stoneforge might just be too slow, though. It's still what's going to happen, but like even a simple cantrip is going to be a little bit devastating at this point. Like a single like this is 5 on board. A single cantrip means I have to just jump block. And a Swords to Plowshare, I believe, means I'm dead. So that puts me to 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, okay. So this is why Cataclysm is a situational card. If we had gotten to play that like one turn sooner, it would have been game ending. But because we bricked on the land for a turn or two and gave our opponent the opportunity to play the Mentor, it was significantly less good. Decklist definitely feels good against Miracles, though, just to like talk about that while we wait. Like it's very clear how good the Chalices are in this matchup. Like I hope those first couple of games showed that. Especially like when you get Vile into Chalice, it's just like the best possible start. Just so much better than like Vile into Thalia, which otherwise is one of your best starts. It's best of until we get bored. I'll probably tap out around 10 if my brain isn't melted by then. This is a very medium hand. Stoneforge is okay in the matchup. Revoker's kind of bad, especially early. These two cards are great, but I can't actually cast either of them, and Jitte is medium. This is a card that I would consider mulligan. A hand that I would heavily consider mulliganing. So this hand would be acceptable if I draw a white source in 3 draws. The hand's actively bad if I don't. If I draw an Aether Vial, this hand's good. I'm gonna ship this one. Like, I think this card's terrible, and I think this card's terrible in the opener. And so I'm really looking at a 5-card hand where I can't cast the 2 best cards. This hand is worse. This hand is also borderline unplayable. Like, I ended up at a very bad 5. But if I hit, like, runner, this can still be okay, right? If my second card down is a Thalia, for example, this hand becomes fine. I'm also not going to get results-oriented here and say, oh, we should have kept the 7 because, you know, we ended up with terrible 5. No, I don't regret the mulligan. I think most mediocre 6-card hands would be better than that. We just ended up with, like, the 1 wasteland. We're going to attack the blue mana here to stop, like, main phase, like Ponders and such. How many counterspells is Anuraag playing? 1. So 1 actual factual counterspell plus 2 Force of Wills to take Palace Jailer off the table. Off the stack. Okay with jamming. So I don't really see how I win this game if I play conservatively at this point. So let's jam. Yeah. But if I had waited a turn, then, like, those Force of Wills are live because they can just be hard cast. I'm going to play out that land because it'll let me, like, port and play a Swords to Plowshares around Spell Pierce. Well, my hand was Garbo, but it looks like Anuraag's wasn't great either. So I guess now I'll switch to tapping down a Plains. It can prevent, like, Council's Judgment. Not that Anuraag would really want to Council's Judgment a Flicker Wisp or anything, but... Mission Briefing doing some work here. This will presumably be Mission Briefing for Swords to Plowshares, remove the Flicker Wisp from the table. Ooh, no, Ponder. Going for better than just remove the 3/1. Which may mean he already has an answer to the Flicker Wisp in hand. Drawing Plains there, not great. Or it may mean that this isn't enough pressure where it is actually a worry yet. Note, I am terrified of any win condition Anuraag plays. Like, Entreat the Angels is bad, Jace is bad. Mentor is the best of those for me, because, like, I have Swords to Plowshares to answer it, but it probably leaves behind some little monkey friends, which would be a problem. And I said monkey, meaning monk-ish, but, you know, monkey's a different word entirely. So I guess that doesn't work. Let's avoid doing that again. Alright, the first AK, actively a bad card. Every AK from here, though, is great. I'm going to continue to attack white mana. I'm not going to tap Tundra, though, even though like it might look like it's better to do on paper, because like it taps for more colors. That would allow my opponent to do something like Brainstorm during their turn. I'm going to go ahead and cast this. If I trade for a counterspell, great. If I trade for a force, great. Will use Stoneforge Mystic's ability. And I'm going to get Sword of Fire and Ice. I'm not going to cast this, however, as I would get utterly wrecked by a Spell Pierce. Predict targeting me. I was really hoping that was going to be one of those, like, plains versus snow-covered plains moments. I live for those. Now I'm going to tap an island. Like, white is still open and available this turn no matter what. And if I just tap plains and my opponent has, like, a Swords to Plowshares in hand, I've effectively not cost them any mana. I do want to, like, point out a really heads-up play from Anuraag's side. So I have 4 plains in play right now, and I run an even split of plains and snow-covered plains. So he named snow-covered plains over plains. That's good. Alright. How aggressive do I want to be this turn? The aggressive line is just, like, cast Sword of Fire and Ice and equip. I can do so around Spell Pierce. And still equip. I can even do so around, like, Spell Pierce, Snapcaster Spell Pierce. The upside's very high if I actually get to connect. I could just, like, double port white and put in a sword, though. If I'm wrong and my opponent has, like, a counterspell, it's so devastating to lose this. I'm going to play conservatively here. So now I'll try to eliminate something like main phase Council's Judgment, which would suck. Nerf Blaster, thank you very much for your continued support. I hope you're enjoying this. It's a lot of fun for me. Whenever I'm at a paper tournament with Anuraag, starting in about round 2, I start asking him for his record. I'm like, all right, I'll see you soon. And if we both continue to do well, which is often the case, we get to battle towards the end of the day. So I don't actually expect to connect with this, but this may expend something like a Disenchant or a Swords to Plowshares, which is fine. See if we can get this to resolve. That'd be a big game. So I guess I have the opportunity to still tax the white a little bit. These Rishadan ports are definitely past their prime. Like, my opponent can still cast something big and scary like a Jace, even through port now. Yep. Triple Swords of Plowshares is really not where you want to be in this matchup. Yep, I agree with this Council's judgment on an Aether Vial over Sword. Blah, it's a terrible draw. This is more of a game than I thought it would be, despite our mulligan situation. Like, we went to a very bad 5, and we kept this as a game for a long time. It'll be interesting to see whether Anuraag just brainstorms forever or starts actually trying to win the game with this Jace. I'd probably try to look for Entreat personally, or Mentor with a handful of cantrips at the ready. I would try to just win this one in one turn. And I think that will be pretty reasonable. Jace digs towards accumulated knowledge, which digs towards everything else. All right, important. Still targeting them. I was wondering if we were going to get into Portent me territory. So I'm going to cast this. I could port my opponent to take them off of hard cast Force of Will. Yeah. But I wouldn't really take them off of removing a creature by doing so, because they've still certainly got a blue card in their hand. I think any turn where I miss on a creature is pretty close to the end. I mean, I think we're already there. Opponent not having anything and drawing Mirren Crusader that I can suit up with Sword would be sweet. Alright, of the threats my opponent could play, that's one of the better ones for me. Alright. So I attack this. I assume my opponent will go and make a bunch of tokens. We're going to Swords to Plowshares this again while all that stuff is still on the stack, so that the Mentor doesn't get any bigger and gain them more life. So now I want to Swords to Plowshares this. Then I can pay 2 mana for Thalia, play a land, equip Thalia, and hold Karakas up. This is a Swords to Plowshares of opportunity. Being able to do this now is why I'm doing it. All right, things are looking about as good as they could look. So I let this resolve. The Thalia probably goes. If I bounce the Thalia, I lose the sword, and the Thalia on its own isn't that scary. This is a tough decision. Like, my opponent can just, like, Jace bounce Thalia for a few turns until he finds an answer to it. But I think the sword is the better card. Like, the sword is what beats Jace. So I think I'm going to let this resolve. So I was doing that to prevent things like Brainstorm upkeep with the mana. At this point, it's largely irrelevant which one of these lands I tap. Like, if I tap Tundra, there's still plenty of white mana available. Alright. Mission Briefing Council Judgment for Sword is insane. Huh. I don't know the rest of the hand here. I wonder if this just means I'm dead and this is just going to be like an entreat. Yeah. Alright, so we'll board the same way we have the other matches. Chalice, Ballista, Cataclysm, Jailer, Council's Judgment, -8 1-drops, and 1 Wasteland. Seems to be working for us pretty well so far. And again, I want to reiterate, that was a pretty good match, despite how poor our hand was. If we had gotten to, like, stick the Jailer early on, we could have maybe redeemed that hand. Still no regrets on the mulligan decision, though. This hand does nothing early. This is too reactive. I think I'm gonna ship this one. Like, Sanctum Prelate's a fine card in the matchup, but it's not strong enough to keep a weak hand based on. This hand is good. Scry that to the bottom. We get a turn 2 Chalice, which my opponent won't have very many answers to. It can be like Disenchanted or whatever, but just sticking these, especially when you're on the play, it's brutal. It's much better in a deck like Eldrazi, where you can more consistently do it on turn 1, but it's still great here. Ah! Brightling, my friend, hello. Welcome. I've missed you. So I've missed out on a land drop, a pretty big land drop as well. Feels like Council's Judgment for the Chalice. Well, that's not a land, but it's the next best thing. Maybe better long term, although I don't expect it to like make it up to 3. This is one of those must remove cards. It's worth a like Council's Judgment or Disenchant. It's also worth like aggressively digging for 1. Yep. So we're gonna name 1 here, try to strand some of those like nice cantrips and removal spells in hand. I could make an attack in. The 1 Snapcaster Mage would be super punishing. So I'm going to play a pre-combat sword, and then just pass. I know there's only 1 snap, but losing this is devastating. All right, hard cast Terminus on it. Deal. Now we have the obnoxious Brightling. With 2 pieces of equipment, we have all the mana sinks in the world we could possibly need. Note, Brightling gets better and better the more pieces of equipment that are on it, because you can just like pump it more and more. Jailer's great too. That feels like a pump fake. Oh, no, actually was there. So now I can, like, cast Brightling every turn forever until it's countered. I can lose a bit of tempo to it being bounced, but that's okay. You're gonna see a Mentor. Alright. Alright, I've now made it clear that I don't have a Source of Plowshares. Brightling's good enough. Having Aetherling's ability would be stupid. Stupid good. Like, the card's already great. At least in the contextual shell that is D&T. Now with multiple monks around, I'm probably going to have a problem just, like, slamming this Palace Jailer onto the board and removing the Mentor. I may end up doing it anyway. But it'd be scary. If I play Jailer, it'd be playing Jailer under, like, the circumstances where I expect to trade the crown back and forth, and I don't think that's something that favors me right now. So what am I worried about? I suppose I am worried about just dying, in which case Brightling's lifelink ability could be very relevant. On the other hand, Flickerwisp is a flyer and can remove a token while also just, like, flying over and attempting to kill the Mentor via direct damage. So I think I'm just going to Wisp this turn. Mentor doing mentor things right now. Second Brainstorm's rough. This is representing a ton of damage. I have some potential life gain back, but I may just die. There's 5 damage on board. Every cantrip is +4. So 4 cantrips and I die. Opponent just fired off 2 Brainstorms and 2 Ponders, though. There's a 3rd Ponder in the bin, as well as a 3rd Brainstorm in the bin. So there's mostly slow trips left, so maybe I'm not just explicitly dead. So that's Swords to Plowshares, Swords to Plowshares, the Flicker Wisp. And now I'm probably at the point of no return where I can't win this match. I guess there's a world where I can like land, equip Batter Skull, and maybe get there. All right, this is good enough. I don't know if this is actual dead. I think this is actual dead. If not, it's real close. Sorry, folks. I've been working on getting over a cold. The challenge has been declined. All right. So Anuraag says he has to go. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a league. I'll play a little bit more. So I hope you all enjoyed those matches. We got a little less than 2 hours of nice like Miracles D&T content there. So let's just go right into a league, see how this list fares. I'm gonna play probably 1 or 2 matches. I'll probably play until about 10 p.m. Sounds great. This is an aggressive Brainstorm. Like, turn 1 on the play, Brainstorm. Or, like, turn 1 Brainstorm main phase, I mean. Like, not sure what that says about my opponent's hand. I would be inclined to think that they are combo. As such, Snap Wasteland. My opponent was last seen playing Esper Stoneblade, which this certainly still could be. But the Brainstorm turn 1 is weird. Hey, Minifer, welcome. I'm going to look forward to watching those matches from Anuraag's side tomorrow. Hey, speak of the devil, there he is with a huge host. Thank you very much for raiding with a party of 45. Yeah, those were some awesome games. Admittedly, in the first match, like my hands were absolutely amazing. We got to see some really cool plays on both sides of the table, I think. Cabal Therapy results. If I just like put in Stoneforge, that tells my opponent exactly what piece of equipment to name. Wonder if I'm getting stream sniped or if that's just a blind name. Mentor's the scarier card. It can hit play earlier. Entreat like often wins the game in one turn, but Mentor often does so in like 2. But Mentor can be thrown down naked in the early game. Like Entreat often requires like Jace lines or like Portent or Brainstorm to set up, whereas Mentor sometimes you just like go and okay, that's a very early concession. Sometimes you just like go and just ram out the turn 3 Mentor, and you're like, all right, you got the swords? Nope. Okay, you die. So Anuraag versus you, I boarded in these cards right here: Chalice, Ballista, Cataclysm, Jailer, Council's Judgment. I boarded out Moms, Swords to Plowshares, in one Wasteland. So the reason I felt so threat heavy was because like I trimmed Swords to Plowshares, which weren't threats, and Moms, which also aren't real threats, in order to bring in just like ball busting cards, answers to your things that I care about, and an extra copy of Jailer. The list is kind of like medium, but it still came in. All right, so we're playing against what I will presume is Stoneblade. So I probably want Chalice. I probably want Council's Judgment. Cataclysm, Jailer are maybes. Relic Orders, yes. I usually board out not Moms. Wrong grab. I usually board out Swords to Plowshares in these sorts of matchups. Yeah, it could be the Esper deck, but like my opponent was last seen on a Stoneblade deck, and it makes sense that that would have therapy. Like I guess I can check their last deck list and see if it did have therapy, but as long as it does. No, their last one did not have therapy. Maybe it is Phoenix. Which is more likely, that my opponent is playing a Stoneblade deck that like includes like Lingering Souls and like Baleful Strix and Snapcasters that can be sacrificed to that, or that this is the Phoenix deck. Unclear. I'm going to board for Stoneblade and go with my gut. And then reboard if I'm wrong. So if I'm Stoneblade, what else do I want to cut? Like, Jailer is not amazing, I guess, versus True Name Nemesis. And I guess Marin Crusader is not stellar. I could also trim some Moms, which would probably be fine. Like, to kind of go with the Chalice plan, but I think Mom's a fine card in the matchup more generally. I've not played against Stoneblade very much in the last few months. I just have not gotten paired against it when playing D&T. So I haven't like worked out my boarding plan. This hand does nothing. This hand is great. I'll scry that to the top. It was a bottom with the preordain. Oh, I mean, my boarding pattern would be like entirely different. So, like for example, I'd be bringing in Surgicals and Rest in Peace, maybe Paths as well. I'd be keeping my Swords to Plowshares in. Like it's it's not really the situation where I can like hedge and kind of do a halfway thing for both. I think I have to just pick. I don't even think I'm at the point where I just like even cast a Stoneforge yet. I think I just like accept a wasteland trade here. Like the vials ticking up give me more time to figure out what my opponent is doing and make better decisions with my Stoneforge. Is this gonna nope. So are we I don't think we're playing against Storm because we saw a scrub. That is rough. And has gotten considerably worse. Luckily, that will be very good in another turn. I assume Sanctum Prelate on 1 is very close to game over if this is a Phoenix deck. Especially with Flicker Wisp backup. I'm going to hold the Flicker Wisp for this turn. Next turn, I'd probably be willing to like use Flicker Wisp to blink out Swamp to prevent like just like a cast Buried Alive or something like that. But I don't want to lose this no matter what. Yeah, basically no game, yeah. Can't really win that one under any circumstances. Sure, you can daze that friend. That's fine. Yama Killer, thank you very much for the host. For everyone who has just turned in, hi, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. That's indeed what we are playing today. We suspect we're paired against some sort of Phoenix deck. Not 100% clear, but it's likely. And we will never know. We've started off to a quick 2-0 in this league. We just got done playing a bunch of exhibition matches versus Anuraag. They were a bunch of fun. All right, so it was Esper Phoenix. Yeah, so like hypothetically, while we wait, if it was Phoenix, so I probably would have brought in like Surgical, Rest in Peace, and Chalices instead of what I did. This is a great hand in the dark when I don't know what my opponent is playing, so I'll keep this one. I am most afraid of just seeing more copies of like Monastery Mentor. Like a lot of cards that Miracles can board in that are good. Oh, are we just gonna like get Tins Fins? It sure looks like it. A lot of the cards that Miracles can bring in are just like 1-for-1 trades. And wow, that was insane. Note, I won't concede in response to a discard spell here, because like I want to like the scrub land might have just been the random land that my opponent had, and it might be for just sideboard cards, and this might just be like regular red-black Reanimator. So I'm probably going to lose my Swords to Plowshares here, but I have Caracas for Grizzlebrand. So like what is currently available is answerable with this hand. Now, if my opponent can go and produce like a Tidespout Tyrant or something like that, I'll concede. The land that I use personally is this plains right here. This is the plains that I play in paper as well. So this is what I'm comfortable with. But if you want something with an older border than this, no, I basically play with no foils in my deck at all. I have a GP promo Batterskull and a GP promo Jitte that I play. That's it. That's just because those cards have significance to me for various reasons. Like the Batterskull I got just from like playing in GPs, and the Jitte is back from my days as a person who went to Magic events in order to like trade and grind trades, and getting that card for my deck was a big moment. Yeah, Thunderplains from Odyssey. That's the one that I do. All right, this one's probably far enough gone that I should just concede. But if I draw Swords to Plowshares, it's actually not. No, I play double sleeved, so that's not particularly a concern. I also play like 3 equipments, and one of them is non-foil, so I'm not too worried about that. It's when you're like playing single sleeved and like your foils are real warped, and you can clearly tell like that they're those cards. That's when things are shady. Sideboarding's super awkward against this deck, by the way. This is one of the few times where like your chalices are just really weird. All right, that's good enough. All right, well, finally throw in the towel. I'm just out of outs. Yeah, that old Sword of Fire and Ice is awesome. I love it. All right, so I want chalices, Council's Judgment, Rest in Peace, Path Surgical, maybe Relic Ward, maybe Jailer. All right, so previously when I did this, I went and I cut my whole Stoneforge Mystic package, cut my mom's, I believe. Yeah, I cut some or all of my mom's. If I cut all, does that leave me too low? leaves me a little low. Don't see many people playing Delver Blade anymore, which I'm okay with. Like that blue white red Stoneblade Delver deck that runs like 8 1-drop removal spells and Jitte. That's obnoxious. I never want to play against that ever. So there is some question as to like what I should be doing with the last card in the main deck. Like I can bring in Relic Warder to hit Animate Dead, and like that's a thing that can happen. I can bring in the other copy of Jailer as a creature removal spell, but it's really slow. Yeah, so the Delver Blade deck is lower to the ground than Stoneblade. There's a few different varieties of it. I'm gonna whack the submit button like this. There's some argument for like changing around my creature threat and like dropping the Brightlings and like 1 land and a Flickerwisp to play like 2 Stoneforgers, 2 pieces of equipment, but like the Stoneforgers are so awkward against discard. Yeah, so when you're playing a Delver Blade deck, you have a few more low to the ground threats, and you're trying to be a bit more aggressive. You're more tempo oriented instead of control oriented. Okay, so I don't have a piece of Graveyard Hate, but I am starting with Karakas, double removal spell, Vile, and Thalia. This is a fine hand. Yeah, if you want to get a feel for how clunky it can be, look at some of like the Esper Delverblade decks in particular, where you're playing like both Daze and Jace, and you're just like, what am I doing with my life? This is beyond awkward. It works out okay when it works out okay. That's how it works, right? Alright, so our opponent has discarded Grizzlebrand, which I can answer in multiple ways. Getting to lead on Athalia while on the play is awesome. It prevents the highest degree of shenanigans that can happen. That is over with. If you want to catch the video will be up on YouTube later. We've got a stellar hand left over. I kind of expect Revoker to go. I kind of think my opponent's going to be in a situation where they're going to have to like draw 7 cards with Grizzlebrand and then like try to reset this game. I think we're going to make it to the long game, so I am comfortable tapping my lands to play out another Aether Vial so that I can hold up mana forever. If my opponent produces a Grizzlebrand, it'll probably cost them between 2 and 3 mana, so they probably can't do a great follow-up play afterwards. I mean, I understand that like Jace and Daze together have worked before. That doesn't mean I'm going to badmouth it any less. I don't think it's objectively good most of the time. Ooh, the Desperation 4 mana flashback Faithless Looting. Ashen Rider's kind of hot. sort of interested by, like, the main phase Entomb, because my opponent can't play another spell. So reanimates are going to be dead now. Power of Grizzlebrand is mitigated. Archetype, probably not good enough. Some dinky hate bears. Doing great work. We're not 100% to win this game, but I imagine we're 90+% at this point. So if our opponent fetches, they will die. All right, good stuff. The games on the draw are much harder, though. We have a higher chance of just getting nutted before we can stick one of these cards that really swing the matchup in our favor. On the draw, it's possible that I do want Relic Order for Animate Dead. Probably going to be better than one of these random 3-drop creatures. Maybe it's Wisp. Like Brightling can at least like clock for 5 with Lifelink. It's really hard to set up Wisp Mattering on the draw. So my opponent conceded, so I did not have the option to do that. But yeah, with when I was making my lethal attack, I would have surgicaled for information. My opponent would have conceded in response to it, so it might have been moot. So our hand's great. Like, we have Surgical for just our opponent going all in on turn 1. I also have Chalice of the Void. Alright, our opponent is unmasking me. They are unmasking me. Which probably means my Surgical is going, which is unfortunate. But, like, I still have Chalice and Caracas. And even Revoker. Like, this is fine. They turn 1 me with protection. I'll be a little upset. So the Cabal Therapy targets me again. Now it'll take my Chalice. So I don't like playing out the Lotus Petal if you're intending on taking my Chalice. If there's not another... Okay, there's another play to make this turn. Okay, not sure how I like getting Archetype of Endurance here. Like, I have a Council's Judgment in hand. Alright, so we've shut off Grizzlebrand Nut Draws. I don't have Containment Priest in this list. That would be the thing that I would just like automatically get. I don't exactly want to get Thalia because like if I play Thalia, it could make my own Surgical awkward. I kind of want to get Sanctum Prelate and put it on 2 to stop both Animate Dead and Exhume. Thoughtseize target me. This prompts a Surgical from me. Alright, they have Unmask and Lotus Petal left. So what do I care about in here? Iona, Aleshnorn, Tidespout. Alright, I should just snip this. Alright, so let's pull that Archetype of Endurance out of the deck, then hit OK. Thoughtseize can take Sanctum Prelate now. It's fine. Now I can just, like, somewhat safely Recruiter the Guard for Thalia or Recruiter the Guard for Flickerwisp. So I'm attacking for 4 next turn, which puts my opponent to 7. So if I get something with 3 power, I will just kill my opponent with the following attack. So that means that Flickerwisp is probably the correct card to get, even though it's not a hate card. My opponent is currently missing both a creature in the graveyard and a way to reanimate it. So I feel pretty good about the draws. Faithless Looting would probably be one of the best draws. There we go. Because that can give them a way to bin creatures while also giving a way to potentially find the reanimation spell. Alright, so a Tidespout Tyrant hits the bin, which I expect will just be too slow, and there's no reanimation spell here, it looks like. Why would you do this now? That is a terrible time to Entomb, because now I get to, like, make a decision with more information. That's lazy. Okay, so Reanimate does not work. Animate Dead or Exhume would work. It would probably my opponent will probably get a Leshnorn, which is just like a temporary board wipe. So the best follow up to that would probably be Palace Jailer. Just like draw a bunch of cards. This does just assume that my opponent top decks like a reanimation spell that's not reanimate. So now I have two different answers to a creature hitting play, and I also just have Caracas. So I could just bounce this, or I could just exile it with Jailer. If I exile it with Jailer, it can't ever come back, and it can't be advantage for Faithless Looting. Maybe it's just better to Jailer that. Now that's never, ever, ever coming back. Yeah, it's possible that I'm just supposed to like not do that. But I don't see like Tidespout Tyrant being good enough for a win. But Elishnorn coming in and wiping my board every few turns could be very annoying. Plus, this also effectively like shuts off Exhumes forever. Because if my opponent Exhumes, they get Tidespout Tyrant, I get Jailer, I get their Tidespout Tyrant. Alright, now that's something I did not consider. I guess this was a reason not to take the line that I did. Yeah, I upload every stream that I do as just one thing. I was about to say Flicker Wisp would be a bananas draw. Okay, so how do I want to do this? If I can just Flicker Wisp the Jailer and get it back. So I can Flicker Wisp Jailer, get it back, or I can like Council's Judgment, Animate Dead, get it back. But I'd rather just produce another body. I guess if I Council's Judgmented, I would have gotten another card, but just having this around is a more flexible answer than Flicker Wisp. No, we've moved past the exhibition matches. I just wanted to play another match or two to kind of round out the night because Anuraag had to go. We got started a little bit later than we wanted. I mean, I don't really want to see Anuraag play anything except Miracles. Maybe D&T for the memes. Sure. I could see wanting to like see him play more decks so you could get a better feel for his range, and that's really cool. Like when we did that with the Legacy Premier League, for example, we saw that like Bryant Cook was actually like really talented and played a lot of decks that he was not known for. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and call it a night here. I hope you enjoyed this tonight. Let's see, what do I have coming up? I have another D&T stream coming up next, so Saturday morning, it looks like. Is that the next date? Yeah, so either, maybe I'll play, I'll probably move my Fauna Shaman stream to Saturday morning, or did the viewer tell me to do it on a Monday night? All right, my schedule right now says that I'm playing D&T on Saturday morning and then Fauna Shaman on Monday night. Then next Wednesday, I'm doing the 1-year celebration stream where we're going to play like an old version of D&T, like maybe a 2006 list, maybe a 2010 list, who knows? But like it's going to be an old, outdated version of D&T to kind of see how that does against the modern metagame. If you enjoyed my content tonight, please consider doing something to support my content, whether that's as simple as just following the channel or, subscribing or even doing a donation deck list. I currently don't have any donation deck lists up for February, so what you want to see on the channel is totally up to you. Good night, folks, and I'm going to turn you over to Nola Gold, who is going to be playing Parfait and Death and Taxes.